Okay, hello and welcome to the patch 9.19 patch notes rundown. This is the Worlds patch, as they have mentioned, let's see, they've mentioned Worlds 3 times in the intro. We're going to ignore the rest of their intro, though. We're going to do one thing that's important, and here we go. Nothing. So actually, that's it for this week's patch notes rundown. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time around. Okay, yeah, no, just kidding. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed to not see Skarner changes, as I will always be, but no Skarner changes doesn't mean that the rest of the patch hasn't been released, so we do need to go over those, at least to see how Skarner is going to fare in this upcoming time. So, not much. Champions items, a few bug fixes, not a whole bunch other than that. So let's get into it. Champions, Aatrox. They reduce the reduction. Okay, so basically, instead of dealing 60% less damage to minions, it's 45%. That just means that his wave clear is slightly better. They've basically reduced that nerf by 25%. So he's going to clear waves slightly easier, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be dominant. He's still going to struggle into matchups that have good wave clear, such as Skarner top or something like that. Other than that, not enough to bring him into being dominant in top, but enough to be slightly playable. Akali, R2 max damage increase. So, again, claiming that they over-nerfed her 9.18. I believe it was a bit of a placebo nerf last time around, and so it looks like they're giving her a placebo buff. The main thing that really changed was the fact that R1 no longer has that micro stun on it. That hasn't been changed, so this is something I'm going to say is kind of a placebo. Yeah, by the time she has ult at level 6, that extra 30 damage is going to hurt a little bit, but if she gets hard CC'd by something like a Skarner ult or stun, then she still gets shredded, so that's not much of a change in my opinion. Annie, E movement speed increase. So they decided they didn't buff her enough. Let's see, I don't know necessarily if it was a buff. They didn't change her quite to where they wanted. So she gets better movement speed off of this, and she gets, the cooldown on that is lower. Her E is now a better movement ability than Skarner's W, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass. Skarner's W only goes up to like 32%. And it's a ramp up versus hers is instant. And then also the cooldown on her E is lower than his W cooldown, if I recall correctly. So, for movement at least, Annie's better off than Skarner, which is just a little bit obnoxious, but we'll see how it ends up playing out. It means that she's better offensively, but Ashe, passive slow increase, Q now an auto attack reset. Oh, okay, I actually just looked up Ashe's stats today for something, and it must have been right after the patch came out, because I didn't realize it got changed. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, basically the slow is now slightly better early, so her trades, if she gets an auto or a W onto an enemy, she can catch up to them and kind of whittle them down better, or she can run away better. And then her Q is an auto attack reset, which is really nice, especially for like taking towers, right? You get it fully stacked, auto Q, and you'll get just a little bit more damage off of it. Really, this is more of a champion versus champion trading thing. So I like that change. Ashe is my go-to as ADC whenever I roll ADC and my team doesn't want me to play Skarner. I do Ashe. Blitzcrank, Q range increased, R max stacks increased. Okay, yeah. So this is one that I think is kind of stupid, right? Blitzcrank is the hook and should always be blah blah blah. Q rocket grab. So other champions who just happen to have hooks in their abilities, along other things. This is This is Pike. That which I highlighted, they could have just said Pike there. Basically, Pike is too strong with his hook, and they're saying Blitz isn't strong enough, so they're buffing Blitz rather than nerfing Pike. This is stupid. People have been prepared for the 1050 range Blitz Q for years. I think almost basically since his release. So people are going to get caught off guard by the extra 100 range. This is a significant buff alone. And then I don't even remember what his passive does. I think it's when he autos, he does extra magic damage rather than the random lightning. That was a change they made earlier this season. For Skarner, this is a good change because it just means his initiation is even better, right? Blitz pulls you into the enemy team, you press R and drag the enemy ADC out. Buff to Skarner, buff to Blitz. Fiora. Q can now hit turrets, and Ward's E2 can now crit turrets. Oh, that's disgusting. So... Interesting. So, wards are least, turrets, dying minions... Okay. So... This is obviously a buff. It's not damage or anything, but it means that she can Q onto a tower, so her tower pushing is better. Combine that with this, and that reset she gets from her E is even stronger when pushing towers. So not only is she a good duelist, she's a good split pusher. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I feel like she should be kind of the champion that you send to stop a split pusher, or or she joins a team fight and she's able to take down a critical target with her vitals. But this changes her role quite a bit because it means that she is definitely a split pusher, and just with her setup, you're going to need to send somebody with damage, somebody with high CC, to stop her. So you send your Skarner top to stop her. He baits out the W and tries to trade, but even so, this is just too much of a buff. Okay, Gragas. Okay, more buffs. No, adjustments. Okay. Wait, cooldown increased. No, this is just a nerf. My bad. I can't read. So his W cooldown, which is he gets damage reduction, next auto is more damage, and then it procs his passive, which is what a lot of people use it for, is simply a passive proc. So they've increased that, which just means it's actually more in line with his passive cooldown, and then 7% of target's maximum health. It affects his clear, especially for big single target camps like Gromp and the buffs. Overall, though, I don't see this being an ability that you're using on cooldown unless you absolutely need to be chugging for health. So this affects his clear speed and health a little bit. I expect to see more Skarner because of it, especially out of Clutch Gaming's Lyra, who does kind of rely on Gragas and Skarner a lot. Graves. So they're trying to bring Graves back. So his AD goes up. Remember that his autos are weird, and I believe it's that the damage is split among his pellets or something like that. So if he hits at least like 3 of them, it's full damage. I can't remember. So he gains more than just the 280 off of that. Health, they are rounding up. Mana, they're rounding up. Mana regen, they're rounding up. These don't matter. This one matters a little bit, especially if you're trying to duel him in the jungle. Just remember that it's more than just +2. It's probably closer to like +4, especially if he crits. Then it's like +5. So, yeah, Graves might be coming back to the jungle. I still don't see him being as dominant of a pick as something like Skarner, who is still a pro play staple, especially internationally. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, Heimerdinger. So increase. Okay, all around buffs. So the AP on his. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's the difference. Okay, so this is his regular tower turrets. Oh, no matter what, Q or R, if he does just Q or if he does RQ, his towers are getting 35% AP rather than 30% on their basic attacks. So that's actually going to affect his wave clear a lot, and then ganking him is going to be even harder for a lot of junglers, just because his targets allow him to fight 1v2 very easily. And then E stun duration from 1.25 to 1.5. So they actually kind of did the reverse of what they did to Skarner back in patch like 8.5, where they reduced his from 1.5 to 1.25. On Heimerdinger, though, his stun is harder to hit, I think. It's AoE, but I've always seen people end up missing it just by a little bit, and they get the slow instead. So I'd say that's a reasonable change. I'm sure that there's going to be some talk on, among Skarner mains asking why we can't have our 1.5 back if Heimerdinger gets it. So we'll see how that turns out. But overall, good buffs to Heimer. I haven't seen him played in Worlds much, in Pro play much. So we'll see if this brings him into Worlds, but this, I think, is just a solo Q change. Q1 AP ratio decrease. So, when she just casts Q, not when she does RQ. So nerfing her non-support damage so she isn't as strong as a blind pick generalist. Okay, so it basically means she's not as good of a flex pick. So this is kind of a pro play decision, because pro play loves flex picks. So now Karma is much more strongly pushed towards being a support. They can't pick Karma and then decide they're going to roll her into more of a tank Karma top or play her full AP Karma mid. They're going to want to play her more as a support, and so picking her as a first pick, blind pick, isn't really as decent. So they might favor going for a different, not necessarily different support, different flex pick, or I see a lot of them going for a strong jungler pick, something like Skarner or Jarvan, or maybe not Gragas anymore. Sejuani would be a good option instead. So I don't see her being... I see her still being played, but not as that priority flex pick that they use. Mordekaiser. W shield increased. Spectators can now... Oh yeah, this is good. So, 30 to 35% of the damage she deals. This, I feel like, is going to amount to being about 50 to 100 damage, something like an auto attack worth 5% of damage he deals, unless he's absolutely fed and way ahead. Think of it, champion has 1,000 health. He's not going to, late game champions have about 1,500 to 2,000 health at least, so let's just assume 2,000. If he's doing 5% of that, that's going to be 100 HP. And he's not going to use his shield when the enemy's dead, so it's going to be less than that if it's a 1v1, obviously more than that if it's against multiple champions. And then this I just see being important because you can never see, if you've ever seen clips with Mordekaiser in ult in them, you just see people ignoring Mordekaiser and one other random enemy, and you're like, what's going on? Now you can tell. So, good visual change, especially if you want to go back and review your own games. This one, I think, might not be consequential. I can't remember how often this is up. Means that he can trade more safely, though. Orianna, R damage increased. Okay, so from 150 to 3... So plus 50 at each rank, and then goes from 0.7 to 0.8. This is massive. I really like that. It means that Orianna's ability, not just for pro play, where she can coordinate when she uses her ult, but also just for solo queue. I've got a friend who's really gonna like this change. Her combos haven't really been necessarily strong, but this gives her the ability to go into a fight, especially in confined quarters, and be a major threat that the enemies definitely have to keep track of her ball. So really good, especially if you've got somebody to initiate to guarantee that it hits. So if you've got somebody with CC and engage, somebody like Sejuani or Jarvan or Shyvana, or even like a Skarner with Predator or Righteous Glory. Those give you the ability to engage reliably and win a team fight off of her Shockwave alone. Ornn, this happens earlier. Oh yeah, basically instead of him having to hit 13, he has to hit 12 in order for his passive, second part of his passive to kick in. So now he can upgrade allies' equipment starting at level 12. It should still only be one equipment item per ally, plus his own items. But this just means that since games end pretty early, he's not kind of screwed out of that. Pantheon, base magic resist decreased, W empowered damage now scales. Okay. So, MR goes down. I believe this is going to result in like a 4 or 5% damage change at most. Not really consequential. He's going to build something like a Hex Drinker at some point anyway, I think. Plus, Merc Treads, simply more for the tenacity, but the magic resistance does will help. And then Shield Vault, so rather than 150% damage over 3 hits, 135 to 165% total. So the damage is, sorry about that, the damage is worse early, better late. So, early game, he still loses to strong skirmish champions like Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Skarner, those kinds of champions that deal more damage than you'd expect early. He's going to have a worse time against champs like that, but overall, late game, he's even more of a threat than he was previously, which I've seen late game Pantheon basically 3-shot somebody with, W auto and then an empowered Q, and it destroys them. So, Rek'Sai, base armor increased, armor, okay, so armor goes up by that, so that means she ends up taking something like 2 or 3% less damage overall from camps. This is especially good for camps like, well, really all of them. They all do physical damage, I believe. Maybe Gromp does magic. So ignore that. Just means slightly healthier clear. And then Unburrowed Q now works on turrets. So that 3-hit spinning ability of hers now works on turrets, which is really nice because that's basically empowered autos, more damage to turrets, so she's even better at shoving turrets with her team. So honestly, this is a strong change I like to see. That alone actually might bring her into pro more, simply because she's better at taking objectives, non-neutral objectives, than she was before. And that's kind of an important thing to pros. Riven, okay, so Q cooldown increased. So I believe that they nerfed her a couple patches ago. For one of my first or second videos, they nerfed this, and then E cooldown goes down by 2 seconds at all ranks. So her mobility is actually slightly improved because this overall is, better buff than this nerf is. It's a strong. This buff is stronger than this nerf. There we go. Wait. Trying again by reverting back, adding a simpler nerf to her E instead. Nerf? Riot? That might be something that you have to fix. Okay. So yeah, her Q is slightly longer cooldown, so slightly better times between being able to trade against her. E, she's going to be safer in lane because of this, though. So that's something to keep track of, that even though she's just used her E, get ready for it to come up 2 seconds sooner. Just pretend that she's always got it up at this point. So unless you've got somebody to lock her down, hard CEC her, somebody like a Sejuani, thinking junglers for ganks, someone like a Sejuani or Rammus or Skarner to lock her down, or in lane, I don't even know, someone like Camille or I guess Aurelia are both have CC. Those would probably be better. So you basically just need better CC coverage to keep her from running. Speaking of Sejuani, passive damage ratio flattened. Big nerf. Oh, dang. 1714. So her early clear doesn't change. Really nothing changes until she hits 7, at which point it just means that mid and late game she can't one-shot people as easily. Personally, I think this is kind of a needed nerf. This will allow them to give her power elsewhere, kind of like they did way back when they changed her ult, where her ult was too strong. Here, her passive's been too strong. She's a tank, but she can 1v1 a lot of non-tank targets just because of her passive, where if she stacks her passive, stuns autos, and then uses R and autos, those two auto attacks are 40% max HP of, and yeah, that's magic damage, so it gets reduced, but that's still a lot of damage out of a tank. So honestly, I think this is a good nerf. It means that other junglers can fight her more safely post 6, especially if they know, or sorry, 7, post 7, especially if they know that her ult is down, yeah, in which case she really shouldn't be fighting anyway. Yeah, overall good change. Scion, W base shield increased. So the base amount goes up by 20 per rank. Okay. So it means that with built-in resistances, rank 1 will actually be able to stop an auto, I believe. Like a full auto at early levels. I feel like this is going to be one I'm going to call a placebo, though, because you weren't winning trades based off of the base scaling of his W. By the time you're putting points into it, you've built health and you've stacked up the W passive, which is what matters more, and you've gotten probably 200 or 300 health off of the passive at least. I don't know how much Scion usually gets off of that, actually. It's, what, 2 per minion? So, and I don't know what order you max things in, but I wouldn't be surprised if you've already got 200 or 300 just by the time you're starting to put 2 or 3 points into it. So, I'm going to call this one placebo. Silas. Okay, armor goes down. Armor growth goes down. So this means 4 and then 17, so 8.5. So he loses 12.5 armor by level 18. If he hits level 18, then, I don't know how much it matters. So AD champs are better into him very slightly. Let's see, so 3 times 17 is 51. So before, where he would have ended up with 83 armor, right, now he ends up with, how much did I say he loses? 12.5 total? Yeah, so he ends up with 70 armor, which does amount to about a 10% damage increase from physical damage. So that's significant enough, but he'll probably have a Zhonya's at level 18. Again, he kind of covers for that, so I don't know how much of a nerf that's going to end up being. This, though... Okay. Side burst. So they're keeping the base scaling, but... Okay, so they're changing how this works out. So he does get, based off his AD, slightly more damage to the primary target, but to other targets, to surrounding targets, it's less... No? Oh, to everyone else. So, champions and everything like that. So, Minions take more damage, but in team fights, this is a nerf. Against champions, this is a nerf. Against for his wave clear, I was gonna say the AP ratio isn't changed, and I feel like his AD, he doesn't build a lot of AD, so this is gonna cover this. So in for wave clear, especially late game, this is a buff. You're still gonna need somebody to, you're still gonna need to be able to survive his burst. You're still gonna need to be able to push against him. You're still gonna need to be able to lock him down and avoid giving him strong ultimates like Skarner ult or a Ziggs ult or something like that, where he'll just either single out one person and kill them with his slightly increased damage, or he'll just nuke the whole team. So overall, yeah, ADCs will have a better time if they can kite him, and then team fights, he's just not going to be shredding everyone around him as much. Tom Kench, he's great health, heal now scales. Okay, so instead of him just healing straight up 75% of his health at all ranks, it's 30 to 100%, scaling by level. So this just means he's weaker early. If it's scaling fairly linearly, then it'll be around level 13, I think, that he will end up. No, it's gonna be 14 or 15. That he's gonna start healing more than he used to. So he's worse off in general, both as support and, he hasn't been seen top lane in a while, but it does mean that he can't trade, or he can't take sustained trades against, engaged supports like Pyke or Thresh as well. And then he can't sustain fights against bruisers in top lane, such as Aurelia, Riven, Skarner top, any of those. Twisted Fate. So they've buffed his attack speed by 10%, or bonus attack speed from his E by 10%. And then his base damage, or the base damage from his E goes up by 10%. 10, not 10%. Okay, better than matchup that favor him, but that preserves his existing vulnerabilities to ranged champions. I didn't even realize he was vulnerable to ranged champions, I guess. Yeah, he's strong against melees because he can just kind of perma-stun them with gold card. Overall, I'd say this probably isn't going to be too bad. I see him being picked up maybe more in pro play because, again, that extra attack speed is going to make last hitting easier, and then the extra damage is also going to be easier to last hit with. It's not going to affect his ability to CC champions that try to engage on him. So champs like Skarner are still going to kind of struggle. Anybody who has to just run up to him, he's going to be able to kite pretty easily. But overall, I expect to see him in pro play a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Worlds is weird because I don't know how half the regions play, so I can't really say. He's a better pick for solo queue, at least. So if you're looking for a simple mid lane and you want to work on your macro, pick up TF. Vayne. Okay, still a tad weak. So her bonus 80 from pressing R goes up by 5, 10, 15. Okay. Yeah, that's decent enough. I mean, it's one of those kind of hidden ult things that people tend to forget about. It's something that they were kind of moving away from, so I don't know how I feel about it. Just means you have to lock her down with something like a, Sejuani ult, Skarner ult, something like that, to kill her faster, because otherwise that extra 55 is a lot. She's getting more than a BF sword. Veigar, E cooldown decreased later, so that's his stun, I think. makes sense. So extra half second of cooldown per rank, which, you know, with 40% CDR, that means you have a, what? Why can't I do math in my head right now? 7.2 second cooldown, and then I think it lasts for a second and a half or 2 seconds, maybe 3. So just every 4 seconds he's going to be dropping that. Really good again for stopping champions with dashes, keeping them from going in. Champs that just, either ranged champs or champs that just kind of run at you, so ADCs and mages, or champs like Skarner or Rammus won't really struggle with this change as much, I think, because they'll do what they've always done and just kind of run around it rather than relying on being able to jump on him. Xin Zhao, passive base heal increase, Q base damage increased later. Ooh, I like this so far. Okay, so base heal goes up 8 to 59 to 10 to 78. Okay, so plus 19 late and plus 2 early, so they did plus 2 early, and then they increased the scaling per level by 1. Yeah, that makes sense. So it does mean that he'll sustain a little bit better in fights, especially level 18. He'll have at least 2 attack speed items. I know Wit's End is really common on him, as is Triforce. So that just means he's going to be a lot harder to kill. And then 3 Talon Strike, damage goes up. Okay, so plus 12 per hit, I believe. So plus 36 overall. That is doable. Yeah. I like these changes. Xin Zhao's kind of my go-to if I'm not feeling Skarner, or if I want someone more mobile than Skarner. So I like these changes. Prepare to see him more in solo queue. I don't see these changes alone making a difference to his pro play status, which I'm very much okay with. I know they say it's a Worlds patch, and I'm kind of analyzing with Worlds in mind, but also remember how things are going to affect you in solo queue. Late game, he's a bit more of a powerhouse. Still not one of the, like, oh, he hit 18, we lose champions, but he is going to be harder to kill, and he's going to hit harder because of it. Yuumi. Q slow strength now flattened. Damage duration decreased, no longer decay. Oh yeah, I saw these on PvE. Everyone was liking these. So her slow is no longer this massive 80% slow. They reduce the duration, and then it doesn't decay. So not decaying I'm okay with because they reduced it. This is a heavy nerf. Like, this alone might take her out of being one of the dominant support picks. I know she's... Yeah, I don't know if she's actually dominant anymore, or if she has been, but this for sure knocks her out of that spot where before she could Q somebody and they'd be slow enough that by the time her Q's back up, they still haven't gotten out of range. And then, you know, obviously nerfing the duration means they're not slowed as long. So honestly, really strong changes that I'm happy with. It means that you no longer need a mobile champion to run her down or escape from her. Champions that have a simple speed buff in their kit, like Rammus or Skarner, can just run away. You know, Garen Yuumi is no longer going to be quite a big thing. This is a nerf to EU, isn't it? This is a nerf to EU. We'll see how they react. Okay, Zac. Bloblets restore more health. So, R. Bloblets restore an additional 1d3% maximum health. Oh, so when you put ranks into your R, his passive heals him better. I like that. I haven't played much Zac. He's not quite my style of champion, I think. But he... Yeah, the Bloblets are a nice change for him. Or the Bloblets buff. I expect to see him in Worlds, especially with the Orianna buff. Zac Orianna is a nasty combo, because if she can get her ball on Zac without the enemy seeing, then he can E in and she presses R as soon as he lands, and they're going to get deleted. So the R change simply means that he's more viable because his passive heals him better. It's got, so the Ori Zac combo has nothing to do with this change specifically. It's just that he's going to be picked more commonly, especially in combination with Orianna. Expect to see that both in solo and in pro play. So that's the end of champion changes. Items. We removed the from some item names and descriptions. This is a little bit too heavy of a nerf to these, in my opinion. Riot's gone too far, and they need to be stopped. They can't be controlled. But yeah, really, I've never heard someone say the Black Cleaver, just Black Cleaver, Bloodthirster, Dark Seal. I can't remember what Lightbringer is. Oh dear. I'll have to look that one up. Obsidian Cleaver. Yeah, I've never heard someone say the, just, Black Cleaver, Bloodthirster. Bug fixes, whatever, upcoming skins and chromas, Hextech Amumu. Who is that? I can't tell who that is. Oh, that's Annie. That's Annie and Tibbers with, Hextech Annie. I think. That would kind of make sense. Yeah, because she was the first Hextech skin. And then these are the... No? These aren't Chinese New Year skins. They're this other random Chinese-inspired line that they made last year. So, that's Morgana. Yeah, I can see it with the wings. Okay. I just felt like this kind of made me think she looks like Karma. Splendid Staff Nami. That doesn't look like Nami. I'll have to see how the actual skin looks. To me, that almost looks like it would be a human Soraka. The horn is missing, I know, and so are the hose, which is why I'm saying human Soraka. Valiant Sword Ribbon. I guess I can kind of see it. Yeah. I mean, just the single sword. It looks too much like the Aurelia skin they did for this line a year or two ago. And of course, this one's the one that gets Prestige. Box already knows he's gonna cosplay this. Also, I'm pretty sure that this cleavage covering wasn't there before when they previewed stuff, so I find it funny that they cleaned that up a little bit. Like, she just had a plunging neckline, And then Championship Rise. I'm surprised it took them this long to give Rise a championship skin. He's kind of deserved it. He's kind of been that champion that pros like to play to show off. However, I feel like this season he shouldn't have gotten it. This is the wrong season to give it to him. They should have done last season or something. Because they changed him this season. He's not really this, mechanically complex champion that people remember him as. So, overall, not... I like the skin. He deserves it. It's just, it came too late. And that recent change kind of screwed him. Chromas, I'm not going to look at. I mean, it's just, these two got chromas as well as he got the golden chroma that they've been doing. Yeah. Rip Yumi. Yep. So, yeah, that's the end of my patch notes. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any input, please let me know. If they did forget to include a Skarner change, which I'll double check on, nope. So if they forgot to put in a Skarner change and you want to let me know about it, please let me know. That I'd be excited. Otherwise, go ahead. Don't take my word for how the patch notes change things. Try them out, and let me know how you do. Good luck out there on the Rift.